Let me tell you something today that might change the way you see yourself, the way you move, and the way you deal with men. I'm talking to every woman who's tired of giving more than she's getting, tired of over-explaining, over-loving, and over-chasing somebody who should already see her value. Today is about unlocking the queen mindset, because once you do that, you will never have to chase a man again. He'll chase you. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Harvey, let me talk to you about this first key truth, because if you don't get this part, nothing else I say will work. A queen never chases. She attracts through self-worth and standards. Now, I know that sounds simple, but living it is hard, especially in a world that keeps telling women to try harder, love harder, give more, wait longer, and be patient with people who aren't patient with them. But let me tell you something straight. Chasing has never turned a man into a king, and it has never protected a woman's heart. See, the moment you start chasing, you silently tell a man that your value is negotiable. You tell him that your time is flexible, your boundaries are weak, and your standards can be adjusted if he gives you just enough attention to keep you hoping. And hope is dangerous when it's not backed by action. A queen understands that her worth is not based on how much she gives, how understanding she is, or how long she waits. Her worth is built into who she is. When a woman truly knows her value, she doesn't have to announce it. She doesn't have to post quotes every day trying to convince herself she's strong. She doesn't have to argue with a man about why she deserves respect. She moves differently. She chooses herself even when it's uncomfortable. She walks away even when she still has feelings. That's what separates a queen from someone who's constantly chasing validation. Let me explain something about men. Men are not confused creatures. When a man wants something, he goes after it. When he values something, he protects it. When he sees something as rare, he handles it with care. If he's inconsistent, if he disappears, if he gives you excuses instead of effort, that's not confusion. That's clarity. And a queen doesn't chase clarity. She responds to consistency. Chasing often comes from fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of starting over. Fear of losing someone you've already invested time and emotions into. But a queen understands that time spent is not a reason to stay where you're not valued. She knows that loneliness with yourself is temporary, but loneliness inside a relationship can destroy you slowly. So she refuses to chase a man just to avoid silence. Standards are the backbone of the queen mindset. And let me be clear, standards don't mean being rude, cold, or arrogant. Standards mean knowing what you will and will not tolerate. It means you don't accept half effort and call it love. It means you don't allow disrespect just because someone has potential. Potential has never built a healthy relationship. Effort does. A queen doesn't lower her standards to be chosen. She raises her standards to protect her peace. She understands that the right man will not see her standards as pressure. He'll see them as direction. He'll appreciate knowing what it takes to stay in her life. The wrong man, though, will complain, resist, and slowly drift away. And that's not a loss, that's a blessing. Attraction is not about chasing. Attraction is about alignment. When you're aligned with your worth, your purpose, and your peace, you naturally attract people who are aligned too. A queen focuses on her growth, her healing, her goals, and her happiness. And while she's doing that, men notice. Not because she's trying to be noticed, but because confidence is magnetic. Here's another hard truth. When you chase a man, you train him to do less. You teach him that no matter how little he shows up, you'll fill the gap, you'll send the text, you'll make the call, you'll explain his behavior for him, you'll forgive without change. And over time, resentment builds because deep down, you know you're giving queen energy to someone who's giving bare minimum effort. A queen stops that cycle by choosing herself. She doesn't punish a man. She simply removes access. She understands that access to her is a privilege, not a right. If a man wants to be in her life, he must show up with consistency, respect, and intention. If he doesn't, she doesn't chase him down for answers. She lets his actions speak loud and clear. Self-worth changes your patience level. You stop waiting months for clarity. You stop entertaining uncertainty. You stop romanticizing struggle. You understand that love is not supposed to be exhausting. A queen believes that peace is a requirement, not a reward. And because she believes that, she refuses to chase chaos. Let me tell you something powerful. The moment you stop chasing, you start seeing the truth. You see who actually values you and who only like the convenience of you. You see who steps up and who fades out. And that information is priceless. It saves you years of heartache. A queen doesn't fear losing a man who won't meet her standards. She fears losing herself trying to keep someone who never deserved her. That's the mindset shift. That's the unlock. When you know who you are, when you know what you bring to the table, you don't run after people hoping they'll choose you. You stand still in your worth and you let the right ones come to you. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Harvey, let me go deeper into this second key truth, because this one right here changes everything about how a woman is seen, felt, and pursued. Confidence, not desperation, is what makes a man chase. And I want you to really hear me, because a lot of people confuse confidence with attitude, pride, or pretending not to care. That's not confidence. Our confidence is quiet. It doesn't beg. It doesn't chase. It doesn't perform. It simply stands firm in self-belief. Desperation has a smell to it. You don't have to say a word. People feel it. It shows up when you overtext, over-explain, overgive, and overstay. It shows up when you accept inconsistency just to keep someone around. It shows up when you ignore red flags because you're afraid there won't be another chance at love. And the truth is, desperation pushes people away, especially men, because it tells them you need them more than you want them. Confidence, on the other hand, creates curiosity. It creates respect. It makes a man wonder, why isn't she pressed? Why isn't she chasing? Why does she seem so sure of herself? That mystery pulls him in. Not because you're playing games, but because you're genuinely okay with or without his attention, and that's powerful. A confident woman doesn't rush emotional intimacy. She doesn't give full access to her heart, her body, or her life to someone who hasn't earned it. She understands that access is built over time through consistency and effort. She's warm, kind, and open, but she's also grounded. She doesn't confuse availability with desperation. She can be interested without being invested too soon. Let me say this clearly. Men chase what they feel they have to rise to. When a man senses that a woman is desperate, he doesn't feel challenged. He feels comfortable doing the bare minimum. But when he encounters a woman knows her worth, who has options, who is not afraid to walk away, something in him wakes up. He realizes he has to show up differently if he wants to stay in her life. Confidence also shows in how you respond to disappointment. A desperate woman argues for attention. She asks why. She tries to convince. She sends long messages explaining her feelings to someone who hasn't shown the capacity to care. A confident woman observes. She listens to actions. And when she sees misalignment, she doesn't chase closure. She creates it for herself by stepping back. Here's where a lot of women get stuck. They think confidence means being cold, distant, or emotionally unavailable. That's not confidence. That's fear in disguise. Confidence is being open without attachment to outcome. It's saying, I like you without saying I need you. It's enjoying connection without losing yourself in it. And men feel safe in that energy because it's balanced, not heavy. Desperation often comes from forgetting your own life. When your happiness starts depending on one person's attention, you give away your power. Confidence comes from fullness, from having purpose, from having routines, goals, friendships, and dreams that existed before he did. When a man sees that he is an addition to your life, not the center of it, he naturally wants to earn his place. Let me tell you something else. Confidence is also how you handle silence. A desperate woman panics when a man pulls back. She assumes the worst. She reaches out repeatedly trying to fix something that hasn't been addressed. A confident woman stays calm. She doesn't chase distance. She respects it. She understands that if a man wants to talk, he will. And if he doesn't, that silence is an answer. Men chase confident women because confidence sets a standard without saying a word. It says, I expect effort. I expect respect. I expect consistency. And the right man doesn't feel threatened by that. He feels motivated. He wants to be the man who meets those expectations. The wrong man feels exposed and uncomfortable, so he drifts away. And again, that's not rejection, that's protection. Confidence is built in private. It comes from healing old wounds, forgiving yourself, and deciding that you will never abandon yourself again for the sake of being chosen. It's choosing dignity over attention, peace over drama, self-respect over temporary validation. And once you make that decision, your entire energy shifts. Here's the truth nobody says out loud. When you stop acting like you need a man to complete you, men start acting like they need to earn you. Not because you're manipulating them, but because confidence resets the dynamic. It places you back in your feminine power, where attraction flows naturally instead of being forced. A confident woman doesn't compete. She doesn't compare. She doesn't chase. She allows. She observes. She chooses. And that energy is irresistible. It makes a man lean in. It makes him try harder. It makes him chase, not because you asked him to, but because your confidence told him he should. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Harvey. Now let me take you into this third key truth, because this one separates women who are constantly drained from women who are deeply respected. When you value your time, your energy, and your boundaries, others are forced to value them too. This is not about being difficult. This is not about pushing people away. This is about deciding that your life is too valuable to be handled casually. A lot of women don't realize how powerful their time really is. You give it away too easily. You cancel plans. You rearrange your schedule. You make room for people who haven't made any effort to earn that space. And every time you do that, you teach others how to treat you. You're silently saying, my time doesn't matter that much. A queen would never send that message. When you truly value your time, you stop being overly available, not because you're playing games, but because you actually have a life. You have things that matter to you. You understand that time is the one thing you never get back, so you don't hand it to people who are unsure about you. Men feel that difference immediately. They feel when access to you is earned instead of automatic. Energy is even more important than time. Your emotional energy is sacred. Your peace is priceless. But too many women give their emotional energy to men who are inconsistent, emotionally immature, or unsure of what they want. You become the therapist, the fixer, the understanding one, the patient one, and over time, you end up exhausted while he stays comfortable. That's not love, that's imbalance. Queen protects her energy. She doesn't engage in endless arguments that go nowhere. She doesn't chase explanations. She doesn't allow emotional chaos to live rent-free in her mind. When something doesn't feel right, she pays attention. She doesn't ignore her intuition just to keep a connection alive. She understands that peace is a requirement, not a bonus. Boundaries are where most people get uncomfortable because boundaries reveal self-respect. And let me be clear, boundaries don't push the right people away. They expose the wrong ones. A man who genuinely values you will respect your boundaries, even if he doesn't always understand them. A man who benefits from your lack of boundaries will challenge them, test them, and try to make you feel guilty for having them. A queen is not afraid of that reaction. She knows that anyone who gets upset by her boundaries was never there for her well-being in the first place. She doesn't argue about her limits. She doesn't over-explain them. She sets them, and she enforces them with action. And that consistency is what earns respect. When you value yourself, you stop answering late-night calls that lead nowhere. You stop accepting last-minute plans that make you feel like an option. You stop tolerating disrespect disguised as humor. You stop staying silent just to keep the peace. You understand that keeping the peace by betraying yourself is not peace at all. Men chase women who value themselves because self-value creates structure. It creates clarity. It creates a sense of order that men actually feel comfortable in, even if they don't say it out loud. When a man knows where he stands, what's expected, and what won't be tolerated, he either steps up or steps out. And both outcomes work in your favor. Here's something powerful. When you value your time and energy, you stop being afraid of walking away. You don't cling to potential. You don't hold on to memories hoping they'll turn into effort. You don't negotiate your knees down to crumbs. You understand that losing access to you is a consequence, not a punishment. A lot of women think they need to explain themselves in order to be understood. A queen understands that clarity comes from consistency, not conversation. If a man keeps crossing your boundaries, he understands them perfectly. He just doesn't respect them. And that's when your action speaks louder than your words. Valuing yourself also means you stop doing emotional labor for grown men. You stop reminding them how to treat you. You stop coaching them into being considerate. You stop accepting excuses like, I'm not good at communication from someone who communicates just fine when it benefits him. A queen knows that effort is not confusing. It's obvious. When a man sees that you will walk away, disrespect without drama, something shifts in his mind. He realizes that you are not desperate for attention. He realizes that access to you is conditional on how he treats you. That realization either activates his best self or removes him from your life. And either way, you win. Valuing your time, energy, and boundaries also heals you. It restores your confidence. It rebuilds your self-trust. You stop questioning your instincts. You stop blaming yourself for other people's behavior. You start feeling lighter, calmer, and more grounded. And that inner stability is incredibly attractive. A queen doesn't chase because she's too busy protecting what matters, her life, her peace, her purpose. And when a man enters her world, he feels honored to be there, not because she demanded it, but because she made it clear through her actions that her world is not open to just anyone. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Harvey. Now let me talk about this fourth key truth, because this one right here is where everything comes together. Men chase what they respect, admire, and fear losing, not what they feel sorry for. Not what they can easily replace, not what keeps proving it will always be there, no matter how little effort they give. A man will only chase when he recognizes value, and that recognition starts with how you carry yourself every single day. Respect is the foundation. A man does not chase a woman he doesn't respect, no matter how beautiful she is, no matter how kind she is, no matter how much she loves him. Respect comes from consistency in who you are. When you say no and mean it. When you walk away and don't turn back. When you don't tolerate behavior that conflicts with your standards. A queen earns respect by respecting herself first. And once that respect is established, a man knows he can't play games with her. Admiration goes even deeper. Men chase women they admire because admiration creates inspiration. When a man looks at you and sees discipline, self-control, grace, ambition, and emotional strength, something shifts inside him. He doesn't just want you, he wants to rise for you. He wants to be better around you. He wants to impress you, not because you demand it, but because your presence challenges him to level up. A queen doesn't try to impress men. She lives in a way that naturally commands admiration. She handles pressure with dignity. She speaks with intention. She doesn't lose her composure when things don't go her way. And when she's disrespected, she doesn't explode. She exits. That calm strength is unforgettable. Men remember women like that long after they're gone. Now let's talk about fear of loss, because this is where chasing really begins. A man only fears losing what he believes he cannot easily replace. If he feels like you'll always be there no matter what, there is no urgency, no pursuit, no chase. But when he sees that you are willing to walk away from anything that doesn't honor you, he understands that losing you is a real possibility. This doesn't mean threatening to leave. This doesn't mean ultimatums. This means alignment between your words and your actions. When you say you won't tolerate something and you actually remove yourself when it happens, that's when a man realizes you're serious. That's when he starts paying attention. That's when he starts chasing, not because he's scared, but because he finally sees the value of what's at stake. A queen never uses fear as manipulation. She simply refuses to stay where she is not respected. And that refusal is powerful. It tells a man, I choose myself, even if it costs me you. That level of self-respect is rare, and men instinctively chase what is rare. Men also chase women who admire themselves. If you don't admire your own life, your own growth, your own discipline, how do you expect a man to admire you? A queen is proud of who she's becoming. She invests in herself. She evolves. She heals. She doesn't stay stuck just to stay connected to someone who isn't growing. That forward motion is magnetic. Let me tell you something important. A man does not chase chaos. He may be entertained by it for a while, but he will not pursue it long term. What he chases is stability with strength, peace with power, femininity with boundaries. A queen embodies all of that. She brings calm, but she is not passive. She is soft, but she is not weak. She is loving, but she is not available to mistreatment. When a man respects you, admires you, and knows he could lose you, he shows up differently. He communicates better. He plans ahead. He becomes more consistent, not because you changed him, but because your standards required him to change himself. And if he doesn't, he removes himself from your life, which is still a win. A queen understands that being chaste is not about ego, it's about alignment. It's about allowing a man to step fully into his masculine role as a pursuer while you remain grounded in your worth. When you stop chasing, you give him space to show you who he really is. And what he shows you tells you everything you need to know. Men don't chase because you ask them to. They chase because they see something they don't want to lose. They chase because they feel challenged, inspired, and awakened by your presence. They chase because they recognize that being with you is a privilege, not an entitlement. And here's the final truth I want you to carry with you. A queen is not afraid of losing a man. She is afraid of losing herself. So she moves with integrity. She chooses respect over attention, admiration over approval, self-worth over attachment. And when you live like that, the right man won't need to be chased. He'll already be running toward you.